So here's the fun part. We're going to go ahead and change some of the settings for the graphical user interface. Now, typically for most system administrators, we're going to use the command line interface. It's a lot more powerful, and having a graphical user interface creates a lot more overhead for the system, so it does reduce performance, especially when you're working in a server environment. Again, some workstations and even some system administrators might prefer some scenarios where you might want to use the graphical user interface instead of using the command line. It's a lot easier for most of us than having to work strictly off command line. So we're going to go through a few settings that you might have to configure for yourself or any other customers who have workstations. Now, the first thing we want to do is we're going to check out the KDE Plasma Workspace. So once you log in, you click your name. So what we'll do is go and click the settings icon. Let's click the KDE Plasma Workspace. Once you do that. Okay, this is one of the traditional layouts for the KDE. This is going to be the folder view, but we're going to change this really quick to the search and launch configuration settings. Now, this is slightly different from most people. I prefer it. I think it's very nice. Okay, we're going to scroll down to the search and launch. I'm going to change some of the pictures. I'm going to do a quick apply here just to see the differences on here. Again, this is just to go over just our options for our graphical user interfaces in Linux, as most of us are familiar with Mac OS or Windows. Okay, now we're going to switch to the GNOME. So we're going to go to the desktop up here. Just going to leave. I'm going to log out. I'm going to switch. I'm going to go to the GNOME Classic this time. Okay. GNOME Classic. So this is what I typically use. And we're just going to go to a favorite type of text editor that we like. Okay. I'm going to open a document. Let's see what we have here in our home directory. Test files. Test file number 2. Okay. Let's make some changes here. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing spectacular. Again, we're just going through and showing that we can do a lot of these things through our desktop as we would on a command line. But typically as administrators, we're going to focus on the command line interface. Now, one other thing that we might have to focus on is the accessibility settings for GNOME for users, typically the ones with visual and manual dexterity impairments. So we're going to walk through that really quick. We're going to go to applications. We'll go to system tools and settings. We'll go to universal access right here. And then seeing section, we're going to change this to high contrast. You know, it helps a lot of people with visual disabilities to see a lot better when you have that high contrast between the characters. And then we're going to go to we're going to use an on-screen keyboard. Okay, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to close these settings. We want to test it out on the command line. I'm going to go to terminal. Tools. We'll just do console here. We can see now that everything is on the screen. So now if we need to type anything, we can just click it. Okay, so a little shortcut here. Go ahead and take these things off. Get the high contrast off. So we're back to normal. That was a quick walkthrough of how to configure a graphical user interface settings and the different options that we have, and just a simplistic navigation tour and a few of the features that are different than Mac OS and Windows. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.